All right, we're back online here trying to continue, I guess, a little bit of a musical journey online, just try to learn some new things. I've been watching a lot of videos lately, just online, various YouTubers refreshing some old theory stuff. Anyway, let's watch the Rick Beato thing on, Rick Beato, however you say it, on modes. It's something that I've always known. Modes is always something I've been very strong on and dependent upon. I think it's very critical as a bass player to know modes. Probably also for piano. Mainly because you use it to, well, it's how you stay in key as a guitarist going through a progression, for instance. Um, Most of the time you don't need to worry about it because most of the times bass players and even guitar players and piano players and most all of us, it doesn't matter what instrument we're on, we're mostly sticking to the triads. But when you start moving outside of the triads, and adding pentatonics, you really kind of do need to know where those altered notes are. Like a four, you got to know that there's the sharp four in there. And not only that, you want to add that sharp four, man. It's great. It just adds extra character to your, because that's the four, like 1 4 5. That four should build up your progression. So you want to add that extra, that sus chord and add that sharp four in there. You want to know, you know, learning modes is a great way to understand why you would, add a suspended chord for the four. Why you would play a seven chord on the five, or a seven add nine, or or whatever, or some kind of crazy dominant substitution like a sharp nine or something crazy. There's all kinds of reasons for using modes, and and honestly, that's the vocabulary where a lot of these crazy jazz chords come from. One I have to say I've been neglectful is learning the melodic minor modes. I feel like the melodic minor modes would add a lot of vocabulary to my playing. Anyway, well, that's not what we're going to get into today. The only reason I brought that up initially is because I am going to attempt to construct something with a locrian feel. Initially, my thought was just to find a nice locrian thing to jam on. And once I found that, then I would try and construct a chord progression to build to that. Well, anyway, during the process, during that process, what I did is I started jamming and finding that, well, you know what, maybe I'll just try and work out just a simple progression in the locrian, a sort of progression that works within the locrian mode. So I'm going to try and work on that. And yes, I think ultimately the goal would be that this would be like the target part of the song, and I would find a progression that builds myself to this part. So this would be like sort of like the big interlude in the middle of the song, or the bridge, or you know. So anyway, this is just kind of like constructing maybe say a locrian bridge, or instrumental, whatever you want to call it. But for now, I'm just going to play around. And so I've kind of settled on D. Why not? I like D. I always stay in D. And I got a natural ear for D. So I'm going to stay here in D. And that'll help me to recognize the locrian character. Because that's part of the thing about modes is each one of them, even though they're all, if you really want to get down to it, they're all just little segments of the major scale, but they all have their little character. Like Lydian has that like weird like movie magic sound, like you're going to Hollywood or something. I don't know. Locrian's always kind of like, I just feel like it's, if you're gonna like have a, not a horror movie, but something that's actually epically horror, like maybe like a Edgar Allan Poe book or something, I don't know. Anyway, so the thing about the locrian, so I'm going to be in D, so basically the notes are going to be, D, D sharp, F, and then so this is my third. So the second's flatted. So the third is F, and then the 4, and then 5, and then the 6 is flatted like a normal minor, and then the 7 is a natural 7. So, you know, and so the thing is, when you're doing locrian or any kind of mode, really, is you want to find the keys that stick out, right? So the thing that really sticks out mostly in a locrian is this flatted second, right? So, basically. So, like again, the goal would be like to get to a point in the song where I can have this like open locrian sort of interlude that's got this like dark, haunting vibe about it. The cool thing about D is D's got a nice, happy sound to it, so it makes it a little less dark. So it's gonna be like not just like on the nose, So anyway, so I was coming up with something a little bit earlier. Let's see if we can capture that again for like an actual now progression inside the locrian key. So initially I was thinking doing this chord here. So this would almost be like, so this would be, I don't know. It's in the locrian key, and I'm terrible with chord names. So basically what I am is I'm moving it up to a third interval. So I'm going to just play the root. So I'm going to kind of, and then do a pedal tone. So I'm going to like stay on this flatted 6. So my chord is going to be basically just like, so this would be, a normal the chord that would work over the 3 here. So, well, normally the chord would look like this, right? But I'm going to suspend this 5 and play the, so it feels like so it would be like naturally resolved back down to the 5 here. So I'm going to go. And then oh, wait a minute, I did that wrong. So sorry, I messed that up. So okay. So I'm gonna pedal, if you can see this, I'm gonna pedal off this note, and I'm gonna play a 4 chord to a 3 chord. So this whole thing is gonna be very suspended. It's almost gonna have this like descending thing. But it's going to be haunting because I'm going to keep this D droning down here. So watch. See how it naturally wants to resolve down? So it may be something I add later, so maybe I'll want to do. Then if I come up to here and add something new. So I kind of wanted this nice descending chord progression back down. So this is kind of, just a nice little thing I found. So basically I'm going to go from 1 to the 3, and then I'm going to come up to the 6, 5, 4, back to the 1. figure out how to get there. So let me try that again. Let me see. Here we go. Duh. Okay, wait a minute. That's where I got to go. I got to figure out how to get that second chord in there. So maybe if we move up eventually, like so we could climb up to it, you know, I don't know, it might make more sense. We'll see. We'll see if we can get there. But you kind of see where I'm going with it. So like I said, now I'm thinking if I can build this cool bridge in this locrian sort of vibe, then I'll gotta find a way to get there and with a a musical progression. So this would be, since this is a locrian, yeah, it would be this D sharp. Yeah, so this is a D sharp all the way. So yeah, whole step, whole step. So this is the root. I see. So the root. So maybe I don't want to go there because. Well, that's kind of cool though, because that's going to force me to play a weird key signature that I normally wouldn't play. Right? Normally I would play like a D major or D7, and then my locrian would be flatted or weird. So maybe by playing a D locrian, it forces me to play a D sharp major. What a crazy concept, huh? So yeah, this is going to be a song that's in D major ultimately, which actually is not too bad of a chord to play. I'm not. I always I get a little bit of a fat finger. I have a hard time getting in there sometimes, but all right, let's try that again. So let's give this is my little like drone, so. Dude, that was kind of beautiful. Holy shit. All right, let's try that. Oh, man. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, now we're talking. All right. Well, so anyway, I'm going to continue working that out, but maybe that makes sense to somebody, maybe it doesn't. Anyway, this is today's little quick episode, and now to figure out to make a progression to get to this bridge. Nice. So it's going to be in a spot that I got to build tension to get there, right? Because this is going to represent this represents sort of like the diminished, half diminished feel of the major scale, right? This is the locrian, right? So this is where, you know.